Hello, ladies and gentlemen. It has been a long time. My name is Clementine, and welcome back to Clementine Creative. Like I said, again, huge amount of time has passed since I made a video, which is like 2 weeks. But for me, that is quite a long period of time of not making videos. And I'll be honest, there were times where it felt great not having to do a YouTube video. But now that I sit here, I'm pretty glad actually to be back. It's really fun just to record these videos, being able to communicate with people around the world and help them out with their art. So I definitely miss doing videos, but there's also sometimes good sides to not having to worry about that. Today, what I'm gonna do, I'm sorry, I'm moving the microphone like crazy. Today, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna have a bit of a different video. So next week we'll have character concept art. This week I just want to take it a little bit easier. What I'm going to do is I'm going to be critiquing this work and trying to improve it. The work is not mine. This is work of a person named Carlo, and if you're watching this, I am really sorry if I'm not getting your name right, if your name is not Carlo at all. I do think that that's your name, at least from what I've gathered on YouTube and Gmail. I was also talking with this person, and they're really chill. Really cool person, and I asked him if I can make a video tutorial because, well, I guess video tutorial is not a correct way of calling it, but I think it helps people to see me improving the arts of others, and some beginners can relate, and it'll help you out. I really think it will. Let's just jump into this. We have two drawings that we're gonna take a look at. We're gonna see what we can improve. One of the first things that I see is the proportions are, I would say, 70% there, 80 to 70% there. They're not that bad, to be honest. Of course, this character is stylized, but the proportions are not that bad. So I'm just gonna start doing my thing here. What I would do. So first of all, I think this forearm and the entire arm area on the other side is a little bit too big. What I want to do is grab a lot of this background here, copy, paste, alright, and we're just gonna make this arm smaller. The second part is that the body is a little bit too big. So anyways, the body could be a little bit shorter, so I grab his arm, and then the part with the belt. We also actually want to grab his arm and everything around him. And then all we're going to do is we're going to move this down a bit, like so, somewhere around there. And now the legs start over here, and it already creates for a little bit of a better, I guess proportion wise, it's a little bit better. And now that we have that, the last thing that so this is the difference. It's a little bit smaller now. Another thing that I really want to do is change his head. It's a little bit too big, but not too much. Not too much, but just slightly. Also make it go higher up because the neck is too short on this character. And I'm gonna fill in the neck now. Just fill it in there. Not even gonna bother too much with the shading, so don't look at that too much. All right, and we want to thin out the neck there. Right, but the head already starts, so all this is all covered with hair, technically. All right, the hair. The thing about hair is that you can do a lot of things, and if it's anime inspired, you can do a lot of things, especially in that case, like I do. But for this, I guess in this particular case, the hair just looks like it's way too big, and I'm gonna make it smaller. But the hair is something that you can't really, judge that it's not, that whether it's okay or not, because if it's hair, you can make it whatever you want. But just for this particular case, I thought that it was just a little bit too big. Kind of looked like he had a rag on his face, not really his hair. Now that we have that, the only thing left to kind of improve here is his foot, like his legs. So what we have going on here is a little bit strange. I don't quite understand what this part here is, although I think it's just leftover cloth. But what I will do now is I will actually make this look a little bit more realistic by deleting this cloth. We don't need this cloth. This cloth is unnecessary there, and just make the leg fill everything, like the foot fill everything else. However, the proportions here are a little bit warped because of forced perspective, and this was not done. It wasn't executed that well here on this piece. What you were supposed to do, or what would look a little bit better if you put this leg a little bit down, and then we wanna add in part of the leg here. Make this dark. Of course, this part would be darker, and you would get to see how his boot is strapped on his leg. So this is how the boot is kind of strapped on, like right here. And then the axis axis cloth comes like so. So we have something like that. And then in here we need a lot more space, like so, right? And then maybe just make that like so, okay, like that maybe. There we go. So that's already a little bit better. And of course his top goes kind of towards that direction. But his foot is a little bit too tilted towards us. So we want to change that because it kind of looks like he broke his foot, like his ankle. So what I want to do, just going to rotate it. Very simple fix. You can sometimes get away with just rotating a certain thing. You don't actually have to redraw it. Alright, so we have that. The last thing is this leg here. Everything is perfectly fine here except that I guess this part here is a little bit too big. So we're gonna move that inwards like so, somewhere around there. Everything else is good except what I would do here is add more shadow like so, forcing it to look like his leg or his foot is lifted up, like it's almost like he's standing on something. And we can see that his leg gets broken here, like it's broken, but we must make sure that it doesn't look like it is broken. And we're gonna get that by correctly drawing in the foot, which is like so. He's got very thick shoes, so we can't really see the difference between between where the ankle and everything goes up, where the foot is and where the ankle is. Over here it's just kind of straight now. And that's it. That's kind of what I would fix proportion wise. There's still a lot of work that could be done. I mean, we have the ass here that's a little bit strange, but otherwise more or less okay. So this is what I would do proportion wise. And now let's go painting wise. Everything is relatively okay, but let's point out some of the more obvious things. First of all, the arm. I'm assuming you were trying to draw in the tricep muscle. And let me just first point out that you should probably never choose colors that are directly completely bright, which you didn't. That's good. But what you have done here, I think you drew this on a wider background, because now everywhere where it's supposed to be white is just like filled with this strange color. Anyways, so first mistake, or yeah, I guess this is a mistake, is the tricep continues from the shoulder right away. So let me put this in, and we want a darker shadow here, right? And then the next, I guess, muscle here is the bicep, but the tricep is right here, already begins on the top of the shoulder. This is the shoulder, which needs to be lifted up a little bit. I guess I'll show you what I mean. And then we have the tricep, goes kind of in there. We add some darkness to it, and that's where this shadow that you drew down there kicks in. So this is where the shadow starts to come in play. And then there's another muscle back here, but then this is divided here. so there's no actual shadow here anymore. And then we have the bicep muscle. And what we can see is that we come to an end here. The bicep muscle is only that big. So what do we do here? Well, we're gonna have to basically change this a little bit. So the elbow comes in there, and the muscles start to spread out like so. All right. This part here is not supposed to be here. We have that. I'm gonna just quickly paint that in. And I want to show you a little bit of a trick that I learned. When you're drawing muscles, it's very easy to create cool looking muscles by applying darkness and light very close to each other. I guess that's something that I would like to explain a little bit more in a different video, because it is a sort of a theme of its own. So here we go. We add all these muscles in there, and now its forearm starts to take shape. Right, and we add a bunch of muscles here. Like so. Of course, more shadow here where the arm bends. And that's it. Then it kind of converts into an arm there. Of course, we want to now just apply his wristband. Don't worry too much about the shading of the wristband and how you did it. It's not the best. I'm not gonna lie. I don't want to lie to my viewers. It's not the best, but don't worry. That's something that you're gonna learn how to shade a little bit better as you go. You shouldn't be worried about it, because I did the exact same work. Like, my work is very similar to what you're doing right now. So we sort of fix this arm, make it look a little bit better. Now the next part, I guess, I want to improve is now the entire shoulder is maybe a little bit too low. So we grab that and his entire arm or whatnot, and we just, whoops. That was not what I intended to do. So this video might be very long if you haven't noticed yet. But yeah, his arm, we should move it up here. That way we get an increased shoulder here, like a little bit bigger bulge, and that's where the clothing kind of takes over. Right, there we go. And now I want to fix. I'm just gonna delete the necklace. I'm sorry, I'm not gonna leave the necklace in there. But let's now focus on the pectoral muscles. So these are obviously ones that you didn't emphasize enough. The pectoral muscles follow the muscle right here. So they follow the muscle that separates the shoulder from the bicep. It follows that, so we just create a shadow that follows that line. Right? So this is all bright here, and it's kind of dark, and like so. So you create a boob, basically, but just flat chest. Don't make boobs like you would on a woman. And you do the same thing on the other side, except you have to bulge it out a little bit, because you're looking at it from the side view. There we go. And we just put some light up there. That place is hit the most, because the surface is exposed to light. One advice that I can give you is that I can see that you're doing is here you have fairly dark area, and then this is your bright area, and when we look at it here, it's actually not the scale doesn't move that much. And let me turn on the saturation black and white layer. Your values are not that bad. They're actually very good. You're definitely, leaning towards the right direction, but you're definitely not selecting the correct colors. So make sure that you always have this open. Just make a layer, put it on saturation if you're using Photoshop. Layer, color it black, put it saturation. It'll create this black and white thing, and just keep checking. You have to have a lot of brights and a lot of darkness. And this becomes a little bit of a problem here, because your colors are very saturated. I'm just gonna add some add some shadow there, some light over here, and you know, just working my way down. And we come to this part here. This is tucked in, so I'm just going to create it as if the thing is kind of tucked into the belt. Can create a couple of highlights to indicate that that's actually happening. We make some wrinkles here and there. Okay, we got that. The only thing I'm going to do is, you see your colors are very saturated. Try to go with a little bit less saturated colors and a little bit brighter, and you'll see that it'll actually look a lot better. See that? It's too saturated colors just make it unreal because the world is not that saturated. Okay, so we have that going on. We want to fix this part here because I kind of messed it up. And now we want to add in the arm. As we saw, the shoulder is in here, so we want to delete that. This is where the shoulder kind of starts. It goes in like so, and there's an obvious bulge there. Have to make sure we draw that one in. But the arm here is actually very good. So, you know, good job on this arm. Let me just put in some light there. And again, we need some more darkness right towards the inner area because, you know, the light doesn't get to hit that area as much. There we go. And the next thing I want to fix is this part here. So I see what you were trying to do. You were kind of trying to make it look like there's a shadow here, but instead it flattened out your leg. So what you want to do is, let's say this is a very dark area. So you color it dark, but you still have to put in some light. So there's always going to be some light. The reason for that is because it's going to flatten out your, you know, your piece if you don't add any light. And especially this area receives a lot of light. And the reason why is because it's very visible to the sun. The sun can directly hit this part. If the sun is on top of us, it can directly hit this leg, which means we have to put on light. That's just the basics of lighting. So we put that on, and we also put it on this part here. And then the part that's kind of crouched gets a little bit darker because the shadow falls from the leg. We have a little bit too much material going on here. I think these pants are just a little bit too thick for him. Just takes away from the whole shape. So this area again is a little bit flat. We want to add in the middle, a lot in the middle, because legs are cylinders, so they're lit in the middle usually. There we go. So we just sort of apply that in. So yeah, I know it kind of looks messy right now, but trust me, I'm a doctor. Anyways, put in some, you know, some wrinkles, and just you kind of get your thing, you know, slowly. Just apply light, apply darkness, you know. It's all about studying how light works, and when you get that, that's when it'll be much easier to paint. So we have that in now. This part, we darken it off, but we still want to put in some light for the wrinkles. And of course, the foot gets a lot of light there, but less for there. We create a sort of a 3D looking thing, and we can now add those. I guess I'm just gonna create some simple things, make it look like it's a shoe. I'm sorry that I'm not following your design 100%, but we have something like that, and then we have, you know, here, and we have a lot of like these. You seem to have like a lot of bandage type things, a lot of belts. What you do basically, you don't separate them by line. Let's just draw everything in one single color. And the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to shade it in from the side so we get the whole cylinder lighting. The cylinder lighting meaning that there's light in the middle of the object. Alright, so we have that in. And now we add in the belts by just simply, you know, drawing them in like so. And they just will start to look like its belts overlaying each other. Because remember, you're not supposed to draw the light. You're supposed to create light. You're lighting up certain areas and darkening them, you know. And by darkening certain areas, you create shadows, and that's how you get a painting. You know, painting is a series of lights and not a series of lines. The drawing is a series of lines. So here you go. You just, that's kind of how I would go about creating a belt. Of course, you would have to put a little bit more work on this, more than I did, definitely more than I did. But somehow, something like this. Now, the last part I want to fix, first of all, what I'm going to do, I'm sorry that I deleted out all the tattoos from this guy. I'm just going to add more shadow there, but not too thick, just a little bit like so. Okay, and the next part, we need to make sure that the neck and the chest area look okay. So we shade that, and now we want to add in this muscly part here on the neck, this right here. This is something that all humans have. Not sure what this muscle is called. I think this is a muscle though. It's definitely a muscle. Anyways, there we go. And we want to add more darkness there because there's no light coming there, so that creates a lot of dark area. The mouth, just add a little bit thicker. Here it's more a line. Add a shadow. Don't make a line. Add a shadow. See? There we go. And even the lower lip. There we go. The nose, see, it's very flat because there's no shadow. You have to add the shadow. See? Like so. Just painting a triangle. And there you go. It looks a lot more 3D now. And of course, we want to add that shadow that is created. I'm sorry, I do not know what that golden thing is. Now let's take a look at, before and after. But I still have one more thing that I want to show you. So, that's the sort of the difference. So that's kind of how I did it. The last thing that we should do is make sure the character pops out. So one problem that you have is that, your character and the background are the same value. So the values are the same. While we want to make sure that the piece that that you really want people to notice, well, let me say that again. You need to make sure that the piece or your selling point is very clear so that people see that first. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to basically mask this character out. Alright, so here we are. Basically I kind of selected or masked this guy out, but this is like very fast, so it's not going to be that good. But what I'm going to do now is going to take a huge brush, and remember, if your selling point of this entire illustration is the character, you want to make sure that the character pops out, which means you have to darken up the background. Okay, the background has to have darker values. So this is a very fast way. The way I'm going to do it is very fast, but the character comes out a lot more this way. Obviously I forgot to select this little area in here. Make it just a little bit darker. So we can see the difference because I didn't cut it very well, so we can see how bright it used to be and how bright it is now. But the character, if we put in these layers or this layer where it goes black and white, it's a lot more visible. So let's now see the difference between now and before, and let's move on to the next piece. So here we can actually see there's quite a lot of difference. He just looks a little bit more realistic. There's a little bit more of work has been done here, and that's how he basically looks like. So I don't think I improved that much, but there were definitely some things that that needed some sort of a guide. But that's how this character looks like, and of course there's so much more work that you can do on this. But to make it a really nice illustration, I would need a long time. But with that in mind, let's move on to the next piece, and let's see what's happening there. Okay, so here we have the other piece. It's a portrait. It's a fan art of Flash, the Flash, a superhero. And right off the bat, the proportions are okay here. What is not okay, it needs a little bit of a work, is only painting. Now, the values are actually not that bad. We turn on the black and white layers, we can see that we can definitely see the face. And this face is not being constructed by lines, it's purely made by light. So you're clearly getting the idea of digital painting down. You know what you have to do. The only thing that's, I guess, in your way now is, you know, how much you paint, you know, how much you've done, practice. So the only thing you need to do now is practice. Digital painting wise, all you have to do, just paint a lot and you'll get it. I don't think you need to learn too much about how light works for now, because you got it, you know, you got it pretty well. We can see a straightforward light source, I guess, on his face, which indicates that the light source is coming from the right side, which does create a little bit of a dilemma because your character is lit from the back over here, which doesn't really make any sense. But that's okay. Just make sure that when you draw something or you paint something, make sure you decide where your light source is, and that's kind of how you're gonna know how to, you know, basically shade your character. So let's go into this. Let's see what we can improve. So what I would do first is where his uniform touches his skin, I would make darker shadows, because the uniform is a very tight fit on his body, and there's some sharp edges, some sharp shadows there. So here we go. The next thing, I like what you did here with the face, that it's so nice and dark, but I would add a little bit of a light here. But of course, number one is to make his lips thicker, because what I'm assuming you've done is you only drew the mouth, but you haven't actually applied any shadow. Now I don't know what the flash looks like, so I don't know if I'm gonna deform his face. I haven't actually watched any the Flash movies or anything like that, or read the comics, so I wouldn't know how he looks like. But we add the lips and everything, and the shadow. So we lit that up. We also want to lit up the chin because it receives light. But everything here on this other side is relatively dark, and I want to darken that in a little bit more, because not a lot of light is coming there, and we want to emphasize certain shadows. The nose, and then it kind of all goes in here. The lip. There we go. So of course this can definitely use more work, but we're getting here. So like I said, I don't have a lot of improvement to doing here because this is already really good. We add, of course, the nose shadow, which kind of looks like a Ninja Turtle. You wouldn't see it now, but I used to watch a tutorial, and I now remember the Ninja Turtle shape. I guess I can show you that in a different tutorial. We add in the nostrils. We want to make sure that those are seen. The shadows on the nose, pretty good. Very proud of that. Of course, we want to have more light here, so we're not going to add shadow, but light, which is going to separate the nose and everything. And add some shadow here for the mouth wrinkle. But you know what? There we go. So that's it for the mouth. Really, just a little quick fix. And the next thing is kind of the chin. We cannot see the separation here. Kind of all blends together. Simply fixed. You don't have enough bright in your helmet, so your entire helmet is very dark, as you can see. You need more light. So we add light. We add light on this side. I'm gonna delete some of these. What are these? Stitches, but I'm gonna draw them back in, so I think it's something like this, right? Oops, that's a weird color. No, I think it's something like this. And I'm sorry, you know, I'm not gonna try to too hard on this. And then the nose, we can see, gets light like so, dark. Actually light. Like a dark light, more light here. Here we add more light because the cheek is flat there, it's not that bent. Darkness there, still not too dark though. I'm not gonna try to fix the eyes because those are pretty good actually. Add a little bit of light there, a little bit. You want to make sure that you can see that this guy is a 3D object, right? There we go. Well, sorry about that. Okay. And I want to add a little bit more, so I'm going to go overlay. I'm just going to add a little bit of bright color right here. There we go. The overlay tool is very dangerous, so be careful. Or that's the overlay blending mode. Okay. And now we hit the chin part. We want to make it nice and bright. Of course, his chin is maybe a little bit too big, but since it's kind of a comic book, we can actually get away with it. And then we have a darker area here. Now we have a super dark area. And that super dark area is actually where the light is hitting it. So we make that really dark. Where the light is not hitting it, I'm sorry. Okay. So here we go. We add in that. And again, you've made a neck a little bit too short. The neck needs to be a bit longer. So I'm just gonna, there we go. Again, getting hit from the right. You want to make sure that that you can see that he's hit from the right. So this is where his pectoral muscle goes in, and there's also one here, which means that he needs to be. I'm gonna just delete the whole flash thing, so I'm just gonna let that go away. This part is gonna be a little bit difficult to just, you know, it's a little bit of a difficult, I would say, position, because it is 3/4 view, which is one of the more difficult views, you know, to draw people in, or just about anything really. And I'm sorry I'm not saying anything whenever I'm working. It's very hard for me to just constantly talk. But then it gets too boring for you guys, so I really want to keep talking, but somehow I don't seem to be able to pull it off. There we go. And then we draw in the arm. We want to take this really dark color here. And we're going to draw in some of these really hard shadows so it fits the entire character. The muscle. We want to make sure that in this case you want to really get that nice shoulder muscle in there, because it's going to look sexy and cool. So we get that in here. Okay. Kind of comes up like so. I'm going to delete the lighting, so I'm going to delete all the things that aren't absolutely necessary. I'm just going to work on the character. Alright, we draw the very thick shadow there, so we can separate his arm from, you know, the entire body. Just draw in some of these muscles, well, lines that indicate that there's muscles. Okay, like so. And then now, of course, there are some lights that this person drew that are correct. Some lights here, these are just reflective bounce lights. And let me just draw in the shoulder like so. So this is already a lot better. I think we'll see. We'll see if it's a lot better. I might be getting a little bit too cocky. I want to add in some of the indication of those muscles. These neck muscles, always remember, if you're drawing buff characters, draw these in. These really make it look like, you know, like the character is really buff. You know, it's just a sort of thing that I've noticed. Here we go. So on that. You know, not too much though. You know, obviously has to kind of meet in the middle there. Not too much again. I don't want to add too much because he does wear a suit. Whatever, something like this, I guess. Could be okay, potentially okay. You know, not the best again. I haven't done the best job here in the world, to be completely honest. There we go. But these are just like some of the things you don't actually have to draw in like that. Maybe actually delete some of that here. Okay, I want to make the skin darker. like so. Want to have some of that extra shadow, and this, here we go. And now I'm gonna take some really dark color, more like not too dark, but, and just add it, you know, like so. So here we go. Sorry. Again, I want to add more light on his chest. I'm gonna take a soft brush, and I'm gonna go with a red color, because his clothing is red and bright. And then I'm gonna go to overlay setting, and I'm just gonna lit up this area. Maybe the red is a little bit too much, like that. So we want to make sure that we get the nice and again, it's a very powerful tool. Take some darkness, because I know that this person was trying to achieve a dynamic look by adding like sexy cool shadows and just, you know, making the entire character pop out a little bit more. So again, this is not the best work, but I think it gets the idea across. So let's see what we got. Let me just make that a line right there. It's the muscle line. Again, what do we have? So this is what I would do. I'm gonna basically check out what you know, what it used to look like and what it looks like now. So this is how it used to look like, and this is how it looks like now. So we have a sort of we established the shoulder, and the entire neck area gets a little bit lifted up, more like a heroic pose. We draw in his lip. The upper and the bottom lip was already drawn in, and the nose, and of course we just make some dramatic shadows. We fix his chest, but the entire piece overall was really not that bad. Carlo, your art is absolutely amazing. I do think you're still a beginner. You can see a lot of, you know, beginners' mistakes. However, you're getting there. You're starting to understand values. I can see it in the flash, and I can see it in the other one, that you do understand how light works. There is still some proportion issues, but you're getting that. You know, figure drawing. Try to draw a lot of bodies. You don't have to practice too much different poses as much as how it looks like. Just make sure you just draw a lot of bodies. Painting wise, just paint a lot. Just paint. The more you're gonna paint, the better you're gonna get. Believe me, that's how it goes. You don't actually have to actively go draw mouths to get a perfect mouth. You do that after you get mediocre at painting. You start to concentrate on other areas a little bit more. That, and just, you know, keep on working. I personally believe that you have about in 6 months, if you take it serious. In 6 months, you can become a very amazing artist. I think you're gonna improve a lot. For anyone watching this video, if you think that your art sucks, that's fine. If you're a beginner, it probably does suck, but mine sucked, and I can't even express how badly it sucked. Too bad I deleted everything, because I would be happy to show you how bad I was. The best advice I can give you is just to work hard, but not just work hard. I mean, just try to create, just try to paint. And when I say paint, it doesn't mean that you have to paint 50 paintings a week. You can just paint one painting a week, but it'll be really good, and you actually learn a lot more. Than, you know, quality exceeds quantity when it comes to learning. Make sure you remember that. But anyways, I hope you enjoyed this video. Carlo, again, thank you for me being able to take your work and, you know, show what I would do. It has been a lot of fun. But with that in mind, I hope you enjoyed this video. It was a very long video, but it is, you know, it is sort of educational, I guess. With that in mind, I guess I'll see you in the next one. Alright, bye. It's been quite a journey with her, I would say. I think she helped me get into drawing. I don't think if I ever met her, I doubt that I'd go into drawing, so she was a huge inspiration.